Hey, did you watch my Northeastern Oregon overland adventure? Last episode was just a couple of weeks ago.
Oregon was struck by a record heat wave just as my long-planned Northeastern Oregon adventure was getting started. It was still a great trip, seeing some amazing sights, and I took every opportunity to cool down when I could, but ultimately I rushed through the route in fewer days than planned in order to escape the brutal heat.
It was miserable to be out there. I didn't want to be outside. I didn't want to be filming. Once I hit the highway and started heading west towards home, I decided, you know what? Let's just keep going west and west and west.
I did stop at home for about half an hour for a quick shower and to grab a few things I thought I might need, but what you're seeing here is later on the same day I woke up in this campground over 250 miles east of where I am now.
This is really more of a camping trip than a big adventure. I'm not going any place I haven't been to before. There's not many places you can go disperse camping on the coast. I'm going down to the spot where I camped with Lucy in the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day video. Or actually part 2 of that series. I'll put a link. Oh, somebody on the roof. Sketchy down here. The one time I camped down here, there was nobody down here, but that was March, not the end of June.
This cool, misty coastal rainforest is so dramatically different from the blazing sun and arid heat I was dealing with about 24 hours ago. It's about 40 degrees cooler. Some would call it too cold here, but to me it feels just right. So the ocean's right down there. There is a tent up in the trees right about there. Up there is where Lucy and I camped last time we were here. And I'm tucked down into here, this little spot. I feel like it's far enough away from those other people. There were a few little sketchy scenes and some people. Talked to some of them, super nice, you know. They're just down here wanting to enjoy being at the coast, just like me, just like anyone. So, I think it's fine. I do think the truck needs to be leveled a bit. It looks like my bed is not sitting quite flat. They've only been used twice for traction, but I've lost count of how many times I've used them to level one vehicle or another. Oh yeah, that feels great. It's not even as cold as I thought it might be here. Let's go down and check out the beach. This is one of the handful of legally drivable Oregon beaches. Lucy and I took a spin out here last year just for fun, but I don't have any compelling need to drive out here today.
Sometimes you can get down here, and even in the middle of summer, it can be really, really cold. But there's just no wind, no winds today at all, which is unusual on the beach.
It's definitely a little mosquito-y in the trees here. I think we're gonna have to fire up the Thermacell. So basically the way this works is there is a canister of butane that screws in there, and I think it'll do 12 hours. I think each one of these pads is supposed to last about 4 hours, so I think you get 3 evenings out of one butane canister, which is, that's not ideal. I'm not out in mosquito-y conditions very often, so basically you don't want to put a fresh pad in each evening. And then turn it on, that gets the butane flowing, and then press the igniter. There's a little window in the top, and you can look in and you can see a tiny little orange glow so that you know the flame is actually burning. And so what that does is it heats up the pad with whatever the repellent is. So what they say is that this will create a 15-foot radius that is free of mosquitoes. Now, the first couple times I've used it, it was hard for me to really tell if it made a difference or not. A couple nights ago out in Northeast Oregon, I was camped along a little creek in sort of a shady tree area, and I was up at a little over 5,000 feet up the sides of a mountain. And so in June, that is prime mosquito land. And it was definitely a little bit buggy there. I fired this up and I did notice that I was much less bothered. The trick that I figured out is, even though I have no screens in this whole wide open barn doors of my canopy, is I kept the Thermacell sitting right at the threshold of the canopy. And when I went to bed that night, there was nothing, not one bug inside the canopy, whereas normally if it's open during the evening, there's definitely some bugs that accumulate in there. I found that to be an encouraging sign. I feel like it was actually doing what it's supposed to do. I've had a number of people comment on earlier videos saying that they swear by the Thermacell, they really love them, they work great, that other people say Thermacell doesn't do anything against Oregon mosquitoes. So I don't know. I definitely had a good experience a couple of nights ago, and since I've been here in this campsite, it's been really buggy. A lot of mosquitoes. I mean, it's not just buggy, it's really just mosquitoes. And we'll see if this makes a difference.
It didn't rain or anything. It's just the constant sort of mist in the air just makes everything wet.
For breakfast, I'm cooking up some farm fresh eggs thanks to my cousin Adam and his wife Katie and their chickens.
The Forest Service is just up around the corner there doing something with some big machinery.
This is just a plain carbon steel pan with no nonstick coating, and now that I've got it pretty well seasoned, even eggs don't stick to it. I like this pan so much that I've ordered a second one.
Alright, this isn't a bad campsite, but if I don't move along to another campsite for tonight, it won't be overlanding, it'll just be car camping along a dirt road. So let's go see what else we can find.
Well, it took a little doing to get everything leveled out here, but I finally got the truck reasonably level. I had to come up with a way to make this level also, and to get in and out of the truck. My handy dandy bucket. Let's go see what it's like down on the beach. Just a big sandy beach, but I love how in the middle of summer I can be out here and there is not a soul as far as you can see in either direction.
I've been coming to the Oregon coast a few times a year for my entire life, and I think only once have I ever found a completely intact sand dollar. They're always broken in some way.
Don't know why it is. You can just sit and watch the waves and watch the waves and they keep coming and coming, and it's always the same, and yet you can just sit and watch them. The occasional seagull flying by, the grass waving in the breeze, and that cool air. I don't know, I just find it so soothing. Been nice to sit here and just catch up on some YouTube viewing from the past week while I was gone. Snacking on whatever food I have left.
Some turkey vultures have found something to snack on as well. It's extremely common to see these quite large birds circling the sky all over Oregon, looking for dead stuff to devour. Here's something I've never seen at the beach, a young bald eagle. Maybe it was too hot in the valley for him too. The vultures don't seem very happy to see him.
Well, even though it's cold and damp outside, this area is also under a very explicit campfire ban. So I can't make a fire outside. I'm gonna sit inside here where it's cozier and watch some more YouTube videos. What will I watch next? I think Edward Shin has a new video out this week. I don't know what made me think of that.
Friends, so we got Robert and we got Charles, and we're going to be heading out to Mount Hood. So let me just briefly go over some of the mods I put on the truck.
Oh, that's not a terrible way to wake up.
Breakfast this morning is one of my favorites, yogurt with granola. Special thanks to Grizzlies for keeping my breakfast bowl filled.
Yep, time to air up.
Actually, I've got one more stop to make before heading home.
So sitting in camp last night where I had cell service, I did some catching up on my YouTube viewing and watched this awesome documentary about lighthouses, including this one right here. If you enjoy diving into the history of things like lighthouses, why they were built, how they were built, and the people who were involved, I encourage you to check out my friend Matt Cook's channel. That's Matt Cook, Oregon. He is not just a YouTuber, he's a filmmaker. He crafts really wonderful documentaries about places all over Oregon. And his latest release talks about every lighthouse ever built along the Oregon coast. It's really very, very interesting. The lighthouse documentary was great, Matt, but you did forget to cover the recently constructed Frontier Lighthouse.